It had been 2 days since the raid on the cartel's hidden clinic. The memories still clung to Raphael like a wet coat that refused to dry. The hum of those sterile machines, the cold glint of scalpels meant for evil, and Lucia's pale face as he carried her out of that hell. She was alive, but the danger wasn't over. Lucia lay in a hospital bed now, wrapped in clean white sheets that looked too big for her fragile frame. Machines beeped softly beside her, a steady rhythm that reassured Raphael she was still holding on. Her breathing had stabilized, the internal bleeding stopped, and her vitals were improving every hour. Yet the bruises, the nightmares, and the trauma weren't going anywhere anytime soon. Raphael sat beside her, fingers laced, elbows on his knees, watching her sleep. He had barely slept himself. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that surgical room again. Not the one at the hospital, but the one hidden behind the fake walls of a cartel's warehouse. He heard that little boy's breath hitching, saw the scalpel in the surgeon's hand, and he heard Miguel's final whisper, "Save her. Give her a new life." Lucia stirred and opened her eyes slowly. She looked toward him, her gaze uncertain at first, then softened slightly when she recognized his face. "You stayed," she whispered, barely audible. Raphael smiled gently. "I told you I would." There was a pause. Then her lower lip trembled. Did they get my father?" Raphael hesitated. He didn't want to lie. Not to her. "Yes," he said finally, "but he helped save you. He made sure you got out alive." She didn't respond immediately. Her eyes welled with tears, but none fell. Instead, she looked away toward the window. "He wasn't all bad." "No, he wasn't," Raphael agreed softly. "But now, you get a chance to choose your own life, one he would have wanted for you, away from all this." Just then there was a knock at the door. A security officer poked his head in. "Dr. Mendes, there's someone here to see you. She says she's your sister." Raphael blinked. "Emily? She's here?" "She said it's urgent." He nodded and stood up. "Stay here, I'll be back in a moment," he said to Lucia. The hallway outside was quiet except for the faint hum of the vending machine and the soft murmur of nurses exchanging shift updates. At the far end, Emily stood, near the nurses' station, her face tight, arms folded over her chest. She looked like she hadn't slept either. When she saw him, she walked over fast. "What's wrong?" Raphael asked, already sensing her tension. She didn't waste time. "You're in danger. Serious danger." He frowned. "I figured that. I've been hiding in the hospital for 2 days." "No, Raph, it's worse." She lowered her voice. "There's a bounty on you. $500,000. The Alonso cartel thinks you sabotaged their operation. Someone from inside law enforcement leaked your name. They know you're the one who called the raid in." Raphael's heart skipped a beat. Emily pulled out her phone and showed him a screenshot of an encrypted message circulating in cartel-friendly dark web forums. His name, his face, the bounty, all of it. "I came straight from San Diego when I got the alert. You need to get out of here. Now." Raphael's mind began to spin. "I can't leave Lucia. She needs care. She needs you alive," Emily cut in. "We'll move her under protection. I've already spoken to people I trust. We need to disappear before someone walks through that door and shoots you both." At that moment, Raphael's phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from a number he didn't recognize. "You should have walked away, doctor. Now it's too late." Raphael's jaw tightened. He looked at Emily. "We leave tonight." The plan had to come together fast. Raphael didn't have the luxury of time, and Emily didn't trust anyone, not even the officers posted outside Lucia's door. She'd seen how fast a badge could be bought this close to the border. The cartel didn't need to storm in guns blazing. They'd just pay someone to open the door. "We can't use your car," Emily said, pacing the hospital parking lot with her hood pulled low. "Too easy to track. I've got a friend bringing a clean vehicle. No plates, no GPS." Raphael nodded, barely hearing her. His mind was on Lucia, how he was going to explain to a traumatized girl that she was about to vanish again. No hospitals, no therapy, no rest, just survival. Emily glanced at her brother. "You good?" No, Raphael replied, but I'll fake it until we're safe. She gave a faint nod. That's all you can do now. Back inside, Raphael returned to Lucia's room. She was awake again, sitting up this time, the IV still attached to her arm. She looked stronger than she had earlier, but her face held that look he was starting to recognize, the look of someone who knew they weren't safe anymore. You're back, she said. I'm always coming back, Lucia, but we have to go now. She frowned. Go where? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you. Someone leaked my name to the people who used you. They're coming. For us. Lucia didn't cry. She didn't scream or argue. She simply pulled the IV out of her arm with shaking hands and whispered, Okay. Raphael helped her into the hospital's plain clothes, oversized scrubs under a hoodie that Emily had brought. He tied her hair up in a cap. She looked like a kid sneaking out of detention, not a cartel victim escaping a hit list. But it would have to do. Emily met them by the emergency exit near the stairwell. Security is still watching the main doors, she said. We go out the back, take the service elevator down to sub-level 2. There's a loading dock. My contact. Will meet us there. Lucia held Raphael's hand tight. The hallway echoed with the soft buzz of fluorescence and the occasional beep of a heart monitor. Every corner felt like a trap. They moved fast down the stairwell, through the back hall, then they froze. A janitor cart sat abandoned outside the elevator. The elevator door was jammed slightly open. Someone had forced it open. A body was slumped in the corner. Emily cursed under her breath. Too late, they're already in. Raphael looked down at the man on the ground. One of the hospital orderlies, throat slit, badge missing. They're posing as hospital staff, he realized aloud. They're already inside. Emily grabbed Lucia's arm. Plan B. Fire escape. Raphael scooped up Lucia in his arms, her small frame light but warm and trembling. They moved through the hallway like shadows, dodging every corner, every sound. And then they heard it. Static. Then a voice on a walkie. Third floor clear, he's not here, sweep pediatrics next. Raphael's heart thundered. Lucia's breath hitched against his chest. Emily reached into her bag and pulled out a compact Glock, her hands steady. You didn't tell me you were packing, Raphael muttered. I'm a lawyer, Raph. I don't believe in miracles. I believe in preparation. They reached the fire escape and slipped through the metal door, just as two men in scrubs turned the corner down the hallway behind them, down the rusted stairs. 4 flights. Raphael's arms ached from carrying Lucia, but he didn't stop. At the bottom, Emily's contact, a stocky woman in a denim jacket and tinted glasses, opened the back of a dusty white van. Get in. Now. They piled in, the van already humming with the engine running. As the doors slammed shut and the city lights became a blur behind them, Raphael finally let out the breath he'd been holding. We made it, he whispered. Emily didn't look convinced. Made it out of the hospital, she said. That's all. Now we find out how deep this goes. Lucia leaned her head on Raphael's shoulder, her voice barely audible. Will it ever stop? Raphael looked down at her, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Not until we make it. The van disappeared into the night. No headlights, no license plate and no guarantee of tomorrow. But they were alive. For now. The white van drove without lights for miles, weaving through industrial alleys and dirt roads that stretched into nowhere. Raphael had no idea where they were headed, but he trusted Emily's contact, mostly because they didn't have a better option. Lucia was wrapped in a blanket now, her head still resting on his chest, her breathing shallow from exhaustion. The woman driving hadn't said a word since they left. Her name was Val, and from the tattoos on her knuckles to the steel in her jaw, she looked more like a mercenary than a favor Emily called in. You were a surgeon, right? Val finally asked, eyes on the road. Raphael blinked, surprised. Yeah, a long time ago. You're gonna want to be one again, she muttered. Where we're going, let we patch our own. Emily looked over from the front seat. We'll lay low for 2 days. After that, I'll try to get us out of the state with new IDs. Lucia stirred slightly. Where are we going? A place that doesn't exist on GPS, Val replied. We call it the Sink. It's an old junkyard turned safe house outside Santa Rosita. The kind of place where even the feds forget to look. Raphael nodded slowly, but the dread in his stomach was growing, because somewhere out there, the cartel had realized the job wasn't finished. 2 hours south, inside a dimly lit room, above a bar near the border, the cleaner sat at a table rolling a bullet between his fingers. His name wasn't known, just his reputation. Cold, surgical, no hesitation. He'd worked for 3 cartels and cleaned up more messes than most people could count. A man entered the room, sweating through his shirt. The girl, the doctor, they're gone. The San Cristobal hospital breach failed. The cleaner didn't speak. He simply stood, picked up his jacket, and strapped a silencer to the barrel of his pistol. "Do you want names?" the man asked. "You've already said too much." A soft pop silenced the room. The man dropped before he could plead. Back at the sink, the junkyard's towering scrap metal walls offered a strange sense of security. Burned-out cars and steel beams surrounded the trailer at the center, their hideout for the night. Inside, the space was cramped but livable. A bed, a couch, a small kitchen. Val handed Raphael a burner phone. "Don't use yours ever again." Lucia was asleep again, curled up in a corner of the couch with a stuffed raccoon Val had found in a donation bin. She hadn't spoken much since they fled the hospital, but her grip on Raphael's hand hadn't loosened. Emily sat at the tiny dining table with her laptop open, screens flashing data and hidden forum threads. "Something's wrong," she muttered. "Too quiet." Raphael glanced at her. "Quiet is good." "No," Emily said. "Quiet means they're not just chasing anymore. They're preparing." She turned the screen toward him. A photo. His under it, target priority upgraded, kill on sight reward increased to $750,000. Raphael felt his throat tighten. Val whistled low. "You're worth more than a senator now, Doc." But before anyone could respond, a sound cut. Through the stillness, crunching gravel. A slow, deliberate footstep. Raphael moved to the window. A figure in all black stood just beyond the outer fence, motionless, head tilted. Emily stood quickly, grabbing the gun from under her jacket. "That's not just anyone." Val looked through a pair of old binoculars. Her face went pale. "Shit." "What?" Raphael asked. Val looked him dead in the eye. "That's him. That's the cleaner." As she spoke, the outer metal gate exploded inward with a deafening bang. A figure stepped through the smoke. Calm, controlled. The hunt had begun. The explosion shook the trailer like a minor earthquake. Lucia screamed awake, her eyes darting wildly before Raphael grabbed her, pulling her down to the floor. Dust rained from the ceiling. The metal walls of the junkyard groaned as debris clattered around them. Val ducked behind the kitchen counter, pulling out a sawed-off shotgun from beneath a false drawer. "He's coming in loud. Means he's confident." Emily crouched beside the door, loaded her Glock. "Or it means he's not here to talk." Raphael shielded Lucia with his body. "Is there a back exit?" Val shook her head. "Only way out is through him." Outside, the sound of footsteps echoed between the scrap metal, slow, deliberate, like a lion circling a wounded deer. Lucia trembled. "Is it them? The same people?" Raphael brushed her hair back. "No, baby, this is worse." Val grabbed a flashlight and clicked it off, plunging the trailer into near darkness. "He's probably got thermal. Lights won't help." The door handle turned. Just once. Click, then silence. Emily held her breath. A full 5 seconds passed. Then a single bullet punched through the door, straight through, hitting. The wall inches from Raphael's head. Lucia cried out, covering her ears. Raphael pulled her tighter, heart pounding in his throat. Another shot, then another, controlled, measured. The cleaner wasn't wasting ammo. He was testing. Val took a breath. "If he's alone, he'll try to flush us out, not rush in. But if he's not alone, I'll distract him," Emily whispered. "Val, you get Lucia and Raphael out. Back window." Val raised an eyebrow. "You offering to die tonight?" "Counselor." Emily smirked, the kind of smirk only someone raised on fire and fury could manage. "Not planning to. Just planning to piss him off long enough for you to move." She kicked over a chair, making noise, then slid toward the front window, popping up just enough to fire 2 rounds into the shadows beyond the gate. It was enough. The cleaner responded with a spray of silenced rounds, shattering the window and peppering the trailer wall. Val yanked open the back cabinet and started pulling out screws from a hidden panel. "Go, now, through here." Raphael scooped Lucia into his arms again, whispering, "Hold tight, baby girl. We're not done yet." He crawled through the panel behind Val, the narrow crawl space leading them under the trailer toward the back fence. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to death. Behind them they heard the front door creak open, and then silence. Emily stopped firing. Val muttered, "Shit, he's in." They emerged at the edge of the junkyard's far side, a maze of wrecked cars and scrap metal piles. No lights. No clear path. Val handed Raphael a folding knife. "If it gets messy—" "I'm a doctor," he said, taking it anyway, "not a killer." Val's eyes were steel. "Tonight, you're whatever keeps her alive." Behind them, a whistle echoed through the yard, high, sharp, like a call, the kind a hunter makes when he's marked his prey. Lucia started crying softly. "I don't want to go back." Raphael knelt beside her. "You won't, I promise you. Not again." Another whistle. Closer now. Then a voice, low, cold, and terrifying in its calmness. "Dr. Mendes, you're not the first to run." Val froze. "He's tracking us," through sound. "Then we stay quiet," Raphael whispered. But just then, a motion light triggered overhead. A rat had brushed against the sensor near a car hood, and the brief flood of light was all the cleaner needed. Pop. The bullet missed Raphael by inches, struck the rusted metal beside him, sending a ricochet off the junk. Val fired back instinctively, but the cleaner was already gone, vanishing into the shadows again. "We split," Val said quickly. "I'll draw him toward the gate. You two make for the drainage ditch." "But—" "Do it," she snapped. "You've got the kid. He won't kill me till he knows you're dead." Val took off, sprinting toward the left side of the yard. A second later, a gunshot rang out. Raphael didn't wait to find out if she'd been hit. He grabbed Lucia's hand and bolted toward the broken fence behind the cars. The drainage ditch ran behind the yard in the old muddy full of garbage, but it was their only way out. He could hear footsteps behind him, getting faster. Then— nothing. Raphael turned. The cleaner was standing. 5 feet away, gun raised, silent, their eyes met, and in that moment something strange passed between them. Not pity, not fear, but calculation. Before he could react, something slammed into the cleaner from the side. Emily, bleeding, limping, but alive. "Run!" she screamed. Raphael grabbed Lucia and dove through the ditch just as another shot rang out behind him. The drainage ditch was narrow and slick, filled with runoff water and sharp-edged trash that scraped Raphael's legs as he pushed through. He cradled Lucia against his chest, shielding her as best he could from the cold muck and metal fragments. His breath came in short bursts, his lungs burning, but he didn't stop. Couldn't. Behind them, the echoes of gunfire still rang out, short, deliberate bursts. Not the sound of chaos, but of someone working with deadly focus. Lucia whimpered in his arms. "Is Aunt Emily dead?" "I don't know," Raphael said, heart pounding. "But we're not going back to find out. She bought us time. We have to make it count." They reached the end of the ditch, where it curved beneath a collapsed fence and opened into a ravine full of dry brush. The moonlight cast everything in silvery blue, giving the scrubland an eerie, dreamlike look. Raphael climbed out and checked their surroundings. Nothing but desert, old fence posts and telephone wires. It looked empty, but he'd learned better by now. "Come on," he whispered, helping Lucia up. Her face was pale and streaked with dirt, but she nodded, teeth chattering. They moved fast, or at least as fast as someone with a bleeding leg and a trembling child could. Raphael's only thought was to put as much distance between them and the cleaner as possible, but deep down, he knew it was like trying to outrun a shadow. Half a mile away, Emily crouched behind a wrecked truck in the junkyard, one hand clamped over her bleeding side. The bullet had torn through her lower abdomen, not a kill shot, but she was fading fast. She listened. Nothing. The cleaner. Didn't move like other killers. No clumsy footsteps, no loud reloads, just silence followed by death. Emily glanced at the pistol in her hand. 1 round left. She swallowed hard and tried to steady her breath. "If you're gonna take me," she whispered, "you better come at me straight." And then she saw him, emerging from the shadows, like he'd always been there, calm, precise. He didn't speak. He just raised the gun. But before he could pull the trigger, Emily screamed as loud as she could. One last warning. "He's behind you, Raphael." Then the shot rang out. Miles away, Raphael jerked to a stop. The scream echoed through the hills. Lucia gasped. "That was her." "I know." He looked back, and then he did something stupid. He turned around. "No," Lucia begged, tugging his arm. "Don't leave me." Raphael knelt in front of her, grabbed her hands. "I have to go see. If she's alive, I won't leave her. But if I don't come back in 5 minutes, run, keep running, never stop." "I don't know how," she said, her voice cracking. "Yes, you do," he whispered. "You've been running your whole life. Just don't look back this time." He kissed her forehead and turned. Lucia crouched in the brush, watching, as Raphael disappeared into the darkness, her heart pounding harder than it ever had before. Back at the junkyard, Emily was still breathing, barely. The cleaner stood over her, gun trained at her face, but he didn't pull the trigger. He crouched down beside her, his face finally visible under the moonlight, sharp features, dead eyes, surgical calm. "You bought them time," he said, quietly, "but not enough." She tried to spit at him, missed. He raised the gun again, and that's when Raphael hit him from behind with a metal pipe. It didn't knock him out, but it sent him sprawling sideways, gun skidding across the ground. Raphael dove for it, but the cleaner moved too fast. He tackled Raphael hard, slamming his head into the dirt. They struggled, fists, knees, elbows. Raphael wasn't a fighter, but desperation made him fierce. He grabbed a shard of metal from the ground and jammed it into the man's side. The cleaner hissed in pain, then punched Raphael across the face with brutal force. Emily tried to crawl toward the gun, inches away, fingers trembling. The cleaner turned to her, and Raphael tackled him again. "I'm not letting you take her," Raphael shouted. They rolled toward the edge of the ditch. The cleaner reached for his knife. Raphael grabbed the same metal shard. And for the first time, the assassin hesitated. A brief flicker of confusion crossed his face, maybe even regret. Then he whispered, almost too quietly to hear, "You were never the target." Raphael blinked. "What?" But he didn't get an answer. The cleaner kicked him off and disappeared into the darkness, gone like smoke. Minutes later, Raphael staggered back to Emily. She was barely conscious. He pressed his hand against her wound, trying to slow the bleeding. "We need help," he whispered. "You saved her," Emily mumbled. "You too," he said. "You held him off." She chuckled weakly. "You hit him with a pipe, like a damn action movie." He laughed through his pain. "I'm not the hero type." "No," she whispered, "but maybe Lucia is." By dawn, they were back on the move. Raphael's knuckles were bruised, his left eye swelling shut, and he could feel every rib from the fight. Emily lay in the backseat of a stolen sedan, barely conscious, her wound wrapped with gauze and pressure bandages Raphael had stolen from a supply closet at a gas station off the interstate. She needed a hospital, a real one, but Raphael knew better than to take her to one. Lucia sat quietly beside him in the front seat, her knees drawn to her chest, face turned toward the window. She hadn't spoken since they left the junkyard, since she saw the blood, since she saw what people like the cleaner were willing to do, not just to her, but for her. "You okay?" Raphael asked. She didn't turn. After a few seconds, she finally whispered, "Why did he say I wasn't?" "The target?" Raphael gripped the steering wheel tighter. "I don't know, but that was a lie." He did know. He just didn't want to believe it. Not yet. He took the next exit off the freeway and followed a cracked road toward an abandoned church that Val had mentioned in passing. "If you ever need a ghost place to disappear into." Raphael hoped ghosts were all that lived there now. They parked behind the structure, and carried Emily inside. The building had no power, no heat, but it was dry and quiet. Dust floated through sunbeams that cut through shattered stained glass. Windows! Lucia helped Raphael set up a bed of blankets in the corner for Emily, who had passed out from blood loss and exhaustion. Then, finally, Raphael sat beside Lucia in the back pew, his hands trembling, his mind a storm of questions. He looked at the little girl, still and silent like a statue, and broke the silence. "Lucia, tell me everything, not just about your dad, everything, from the start." Lucia didn't answer right away. She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve, her eyes distant. Then she said quietly, "They didn't use me because I was small. They used me because of who I am." Raphael's blood chilled. "What do you mean?" "My mom—" Lucia paused, tears rising. "She was part of them, not just a runner. She handled money, routes, names." "And your father?" Raphael asked. "He wasn't my real dad. He took me after my mom died, hid me from them. He was one of them too, but I think he loved me in his own way." "Why hide you?" "Because of what my mom told him before she died." Lucia turned to him, eyes finally meeting his. "She said I wasn't just any kid. I was leverage." Raphael's heart pounded. Leverage for what? Lucia hesitated, then she left them with something. A list, names, accounts, deals that never got recorded, the kind of stuff that could bring down the whole Alonso cartel. "And they think you know where it is." Lucia nodded. "They don't want me for what I've done. They want me for what I could lead them to." Raphael sat back, stunned. The cartel hadn't failed to kill them. The cleaner had deliberately spared them because someone had given a new order, a bigger one. Bring Lucia in alive. "I think Miguel knew," Raphael said slowly. "That's why he helped us escape. Not just to save you, but to keep you from becoming their key to ruin." Lucia's voice broke. "They'll never stop. Will they?" Raphael reached out and took her hand. "Not until we end it. Until we find what your mom left behind and expose it." Lucia looked down at their hands. "Then we fight." Raphael smiled. A tired, bloodied smile. "Yeah, we fight." Just then, Emily groaned from the corner, coughing herself awake. "I hate to interrupt this touching revolution," she croaked, "but unless someone gets me a transfusion, I'm going to be a corpse with opinions." Lucia stood up. "What do we do now?" Raphael looked around the dusty church, then back at the child beside him. The girl who had once been a victim, now holding the fate of a cartel in her memories. "We find the list," he said. "We find out what your mum left behind." "And then?" Lucia asked. "Then we burn them down." The morning sun filtered through the shattered stained glass of the abandoned church, casting broken rainbows across the wooden pews. Raphael stood at the altar, staring out the dusty windows while Emily dozed on a makeshift cot, her color a little better after Raphael gave her IV fluids using leftover supplies from the clinic's first aid box. Lucia sat near the old confessional booth, staring at her fingers. She hadn't said much since she dropped the bomb about the list, but Raphael could see the weight in her eyes, a 10-year-old carrying a secret that had turned her into a hunted object. "You said your mom left something behind," Raphael said, finally breaking the silence. "Do you remember where?" Lucia nodded slowly. "She told me once. Not when I was scared or hurt. Just one night when she thought I was asleep. She sat on the edge of my bed, crying, whispering like a prayer." "What did she say?" "She said, 'The devil sleeps under the angel's wings.'" Lucia's eyes flicked up. "That was her clue." Raphael frowned. "That sounds like a riddle." "She liked riddles," Lucia whispered. "Said they were safer than passwords." Emily groaned from her cot. "It's a metaphor or a location code. Where was she from?" "Ciudad Juarez," Lucia replied. "But after she ran from the cartel, she took me north. We lived in an old Catholic orphanage for a while, just over the border in Las Cruces. She used to tell me stories about the statues there, how angels stood guard over sinners." Raphael's eyes widened. "The devil sleeps under the angel's wings. Maybe it's literal. Maybe something's buried there." Lucia nodded. Slowly. The courtyard had a giant angel statue. She used to sit under it at night like she was hiding from the world. Emily sat up, wincing. So we go to Las Cruces, to the orphanage. It's a risk, Raphael said. They might have it watched. Emily gave him a dry look. Everything's a risk now. Lucia spoke again, voice soft. They'll come for us the closer we get. We'll be ready, Raphael promised. This ends when we find that list. 3 hours later, they were on the road again, this time in a stolen delivery van with no logos and a cracked windshield. Emily sat in the back, her wound still bothering her but dulled by painkillers. Lucia sat between them, hugging a worn-out backpack like it was a lifeline. The orphanage appeared around sunset. It sat on a forgotten hill on the edge of town, tall iron gates chained shut, paint peeling from old brick walls, and a heavy angel statue looming over a weedy courtyard. The place had been abandoned for years, and it looked it. Raphael parked the van behind a small slope, hidden from the road. Stay behind me, he said as they approached. Lucia didn't need telling twice. They climbed over the gate and stepped into the courtyard. The angel statue was cracked but still stood tall, wings spread wide like they were trying to protect what little purity remained here. Its face was worn, eroded from years of wind and rain, but there was a haunting beauty in its expression. That's where she used to sit, Lucia said, pointing to the base of the statue. Right there, every night. Raphael examined the area, eyes scanning the overgrown flower bed. Something caught his attention, a small square patch of dirt that looked different, looser, more recently disturbed. He dropped to his knees and started digging with his bare hands. Lucia knelt beside him silent, and then his fingers hit metal, a rusted tin box, tightly sealed. He pried it open slowly. Inside were two things, a flash drive and a photograph. The photo was of Lucia as a toddler, held in her mother's arms, both of them smiling, standing right where they were now. On the back of the photo, written in red ink, "If you're reading this, I'm dead. Trust no one, not even her." What? The hell? Raphael whispered. Emily, reading over his shoulder, paled. Who's her? Lucia stared at the handwriting, eyes wide. That's not my mum's writing. Raphael's stomach dropped. Then who put it here? Before anyone could answer, a single red laser dot appeared on Raphael's chest. He froze. Emily looked up. A figure stood on the orphanage rooftop. The cleaner. He was back. But he wasn't alone. Another figure stepped beside him. A woman, face in shadow, holding a phone, smiling. Lucia gasped. No. Raphael looked at her. Lucia's lips trembled as she whispered, That's my mother. Time froze. The rusted flash drive slipped from Raphael's fingers, landing in the dirt with a soft thud. But no one moved to pick it up. Lucia stood like a statue, staring up at the rooftop of the orphanage, her small frame trembling. Raphael turned to her slowly. Lucia, are you sure? Her eyes were wide, unfocused. That's her. I remember her face, her eyes, her voice. On the rooftop, the woman lowered her phone. Her lips curled into a cold smile as she stepped into the fading sunlight. And then she spoke, her voice echoing across the courtyard. Hello, Michiello, did you miss me? Lucia didn't answer. Her breath hitched in her throat, eyes locked on the woman above. Emily stepped forward, gun drawn. Is this a trick? Raphael raised a hand. No. Look at her eyes. That's no trick. The woman, Lucia's mother, held up her arms in mock surrender. I'm not here to kill you, Raphael. Not yet, anyway. I just wanted to see what my daughter's new father figure looks like. Raphael's hands clenched into fists. You faked your death. Let them use her. Use your own daughter. Lucia whispered almost to herself. Why? Her mother tilted her head, dark hair blowing gently in the wind. Because love doesn't win wars, sweetheart. Information does. And you, my darling girl, were the only leverage I had left. Emily cursed under her breath. She set the whole thing up. She made Lucia the bait. Raphael's stomach turned. You let them pack her with drugs. You let her bleed in a clinic. She almost died. The woman's expression hardened. Do you think I didn't know that? Every single move and every pain she felt Baki was calculated, controlled, necessary. Lucia shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. You were supposed to protect me. I did, her mother said coldly. I kept you alive. And now you've brought me what I need. She gestured toward the tin box in the dirt. The flash drive. Raphael stepped in front of it instinctively. That drive holds everything, she continued. The list, the bank routes, the shipment schedules, names of politicians paid off across 2 countries. It was my fail-safe. I knew someday, if I needed to rise again, you would bring it back to me. Lucia's voice broke. You used me. Her mother didn't flinch. I trained you. The rest of the world sees you as a child, but you're not. You're mine. A gust of wind blew through the courtyard. For a long moment, no one said anything. Then, without warning, a bullet ripped through the air. It missed Raphael by inches, striking the dirt beside him. The cleaner had raised his weapon again, not at Raphael this time, but at Emily, who had started inching toward the van. Drop it, the woman snapped, her voice suddenly hard as steel. No one moves. Raphael stepped forward slowly, shielding Lucia with his body. You're not taking her. Her mother's eyes narrowed. You're in no position to negotiate, Doctor. The only reason you're still breathing is because I told him not to kill you. Yet. Then she paused. And don't you wonder why? Raphael didn't answer. Because you're valuable now, she continued. You survived the cleaner. Twice. You've seen what we do. You're smart, resourceful, and now... She glanced at Lucia. You're attached. What do you want from me? Raphael asked quietly. She smiled. I want you to join us. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Emily laughed bitterly from behind them. You're insane. No, Lucia's mother said, now stepping down a rusted fire escape. I'm inevitable. This country runs on people like me, people who know how to weaponize silence, secrets, shadows. You think you're saving her. You're delaying her destiny. She stepped into the courtyard, now just a few feet away. Lucia, she said, gently, her voice softening, come with me, we can end this war, we can own it, no more running, no more fear. Lucia stared at her mother. The woman who had abandoned her, exploited her, nearly killed her. Then she stepped forward. Raphael reached for her instinctively. Lucia. I need to see something, she whispered. She stopped just inches from her mother, and then very softly she said, You're not my mother anymore. Then she spit in her face. The silence was deafening. The cleaner tensed. The woman blinked slowly, wiping the spit from her cheek. Wrong answer. Raphael saw her hand move, going for a concealed pistol. But he was faster. He tackled Lucia's mother just as the shot fired. It missed, but the noise sparked chaos. Emily opened fire from behind, hitting the cleaner in the shoulder. He dropped to one knee, stunned but not out. Lucia dove to the ground, screaming as bullets tore through the courtyard. Raphael wrestled with the woman, trying to disarm her, keep her hand from reaching her weapon again. Then she whispered in his ear, You think this ends with me? The girl is a warhead, Doctor, and you just activated her. Raphael head-butted her, knocking her back. He grabbed Lucia and the flash drive and ran. Emily fired one last round, to keep the cleaner pinned down as they bolted toward the van. Tires screeched, glass shattered, the van door slammed shut, and they were gone. In the rearview mirror, Lucia watched the orphanage burn as the cleaner lit the statue with a trail of gasoline. Raphael looked back at her. Lucia, what did she mean? That you're a warhead? Lucia didn't answer. She just stared. Out the window, her voice flat and distant. She wasn't wrong. The highway stretched out like a lifeline, straight, cracked, and empty. The stolen van hummed under them, its tires grinding over faded asphalt as the desert sun began to rise behind them. The world felt quieter now, like even the wind was holding its breath. In the back seat, Lucia sat clutching the rusted flash. Driver, her fingers wrapped tight around it like it might disappear if she blinked. Her expression hadn't changed since they fled the orphanage. She hadn't cried. She hadn't spoken. Not even when the flames behind them turned the only place she'd ever known into smoke and ashes. Raphael drove in silence. Emily sat beside him. Her wound finally stabilized, but her gaze razor-sharp, watching the road and Lucia, both like she was expecting either of them to explode at any moment. "I still can't believe she's alive," Raphael said softly, his voice hoarse. "Lucia's mother. All of it." "She's not a mother," Emily said. "She's a strategist, a monster wearing a mother's face." Raphael nodded. "And she said something before I knocked her out. Something I can't shake." Emily raised a brow. "What?" "She said Lucia isn't just leverage, she's a warhead." That word hung heavy in the air. Emily turned her head toward the back seat. "Lucia, what did she mean?" For a long time, nothing. Then the girl finally spoke. Her voice was calm. "I know everything," she said. "The names, the accounts, the passwords, the places, everything." Raphael glanced back. "How?" "She didn't hide it from me," Lucia said, still staring ahead. "She taught me since I was 5. "What do you mean, taught you?" Lucia looked down at the flash drive. "This was never the only copy. She gave me the backup, in my head." Emily sat up straighter. "Wait, you're saying you've memorized it?" Lucia nodded. "All of it?" Raphael's mouth went dry. "Then why did she want the drive?" "Because she didn't know I still remembered," Lucia replied. "When she disappeared, when Miguel took me, I pretended to forget. I acted like a scared little girl, like a mule, like they wanted me to be." She finally looked at Raphael, her eyes dark and focused. "But I've been remembering everything. Every name she whispered. Every transaction. Every route. I didn't forget." Emily leaned back slowly. "Jesus, you're not the warhead. You're the codes to launch it." Raphael pulled the van over, his hands trembling on the wheel. He turned around, looking Lucia dead in the eye. "Lucia, you need to understand what that means." "I do," she said. "If that information gets into the wrong hands—" "It already did," Lucia interrupted. "My mother is the wrong hands." Emily stared at her. "So what do we do now? Turn it over to the FBI? Interpol?" Lucia shook her head. "They'll use it too. Maybe not like her, but the same way. To trade, to control, to silence people." Raphael's voice was low. "Then what's the alternative?" Lucia looked down at the flash drive, and then, without hesitation, snapped it in half. Emily gasped. "What are you doing?" Raphael reached for her, panicked. "Lucia, wait!" But Lucia didn't flinch. "They'll keep coming as long as this exists," she said. "So I'm deleting the last physical copy." "But what about what you remember?" Raphael asked. Lucia met his gaze. "I forget now." "No, you don't," Emily said. "I will," Lucia whispered. Then she pulled a small vial from her pocket. One Raphael hadn't noticed before. "What is that?" he asked, his gut twisting. She held it up. The liquid inside shimmered faintly. "My mother kept a neuroblocker," she said, "designed for couriers. If one gets caught and tortured, they take this. It doesn't kill you, but it burns short-term memory pathways. You forget what they programmed into you." Raphael's heart stopped. "Lucia, no. She taught me to hide it," she said. "But I always knew what it really was. I didn't take it before because I thought maybe someone good could use what I knew." She looked at him. "But the only person I trust with my life is you." Then she placed the vial in Raphael's palm. "You choose." Raphael stared at her. Tears welled in his eyes. "If we destroy this, you'll lose everything. All the pieces of your mother, even the good ones." Lucia gave a sad smile. She was never the good part. The silence stretched out. Then Raphael crushed the vial under his foot. "No more running," he said. "No more secrets. You're not a weapon, Lucia. You're a kid, and I'm going to protect that." Emily exhaled, slow and relieved. The last shred of the cartel's leverage faded into dust. 6 months later, Lucia sat in a classroom in Denver, wearing a navy blue sweater, doodling in her notebook. Her new name was Lucia Rios. Nobody in her school knew who she really was. Nobody knew what she'd survived. Dr. Rafael Mendez sat in the car outside, watching through the window, sipping coffee. He still had nightmares, so did she, but they were free. Across the city, an old woman in a white coat read a police report about a missing cartel leader who disappeared without a trace. She smiled. Faintly, she had more daughters, but she'd only made one warhead and now it was gone.